Hey everybody, how's it going? Here's another list video for you. So over the years I've had the chance to travel to some beautiful locations across the United States, many of which are rife with Sasquatch stories and tales going back centuries. So I decided to put together a list of my top 10 squatchy places that I've been to so far. Located in the eastern part of Louisiana, towards the Mississippi border, the Honey Island Swamp is a massive river swamp and one of the most pristine swamps in the United States. Named after honeybees brought in from Europe hundreds of years ago, the swamp is said to be home to the Honey Island Swamp Monster, a Bigfoot-like creature. When I was there, I got to see the massive scale of this place by drone, and it was clear by boat how tough it would be to reach some of these areas in the swamp, as well as downright dangerous between the gators, snakes, hogs, and many other natural dangers. Definitely makes you imagine how something could stay hidden and move around easily in the swamp itself. The mountainous regions of Colorado boast some vast and sprawling forests among the high mountain peaks. I've been to Colorado a couple times, and it's always interesting to see the terrain in the backcountry, as well as the wildlife that calls these areas home. Hiking and camping in some of these areas is simply amazing. There's definitely plenty of Sasquatch lore across the state with cool places to check out, like the Sasquatch Outpost in Bailey, with stories going back to the Old West and certainly into modern times. Ohio is known for the Grassman, and while Salt Fork State Park gets most of the state's Bigfoot reputation, one place I visited in 2016 was the southern section of the MAINE National Forest near the Kentucky border. The forest itself is over 800,000 acres in 3 sections of Ohio. I was there with the dynamic Bigfoot hunting duo of Dallas and Wayne. They took us to an area deep in the forest known as the Boneyard, where farmers would dump their dead cows. The duo claimed to have had lots of activity and interaction there in the past, and despite it being 90 degrees that day, we traversed the area. While up towards the tree line with Wayne, he began doing wood knocks and we received some interesting responses.
That's a Bigfoot. That is a Bigfoot. That thing pounded, what, 5 times? Right through there.
While it's certainly inconclusive as to what it was definitely an interesting and cool experience. The MAINE National Forest certainly earns its place on my list. Much of Northern California is rural, wooded, and filled with mountains, with much of the land being part of state or national parks and national forests. The redwood forests are truly a sight to behold, creating a unique, temperate rainforest unlike anything seen in the world. Further in from the coast is where a lot of Sasquatch history is to be found. Willow Creek boasts being the Bigfoot capital of the world, with a lot of local embrace of the topic, while the wilderness areas in nearby Bluff Creek is where not only the term Bigfoot originated in the 1950s, but where the infamous Patterson-Gimlin film was captured in 1967. To this day, much of the area is rugged and remote, and the kind of habitat you'd expect all sorts of wildlife to call home. Upstate New York's Adirondack State Park is the largest park in the United States at nearly 6 million acres. Much of this area is comprised of mountain peaks and vast forests. Whitehall, New York sits at the eastern entrance of the park, near Lake Champlain, and is where one of the most infamous Bigfoot encounters on the East Coast took place, known as the Abair Road Incident. Multiple law enforcement officers encountered a strange creature with glowing red eyes, and since then other encounters from before and after the incident have come forward around Whitehall. The town itself has embraced Bigfoot in quite a few ways. Beyond just Whitehall itself, the wilderness of the Adirondacks, whether the high peaks regions or elsewhere, truly impressed me, While filming On the Trail of Bigfoot: The Journey with Small Town Monsters, we thoroughly explored the region, interviewing various eyewitnesses and spending time with researchers in the field. This area earns its place on my list and certainly warrants a return visit. Located in the bottomlands of southern Arkansas, near the Texas and Louisiana borders, FOUKE is probably one of my favorite small towns I've visited. Famous, of course, for the legendary FOUKE monster, as depicted in the cult classic, The Legend of Boggy Creek, stories of a strange creature roaming the swamps and woods around town have been told for decades. Originally called the Jonesville Monster, sightings have been reported to this day, even right before and after I visited in early 2019. With lots of woods and swampy terrain inaccessible unless by boat, it's no wonder this area has been a hotbed of sightings and stories. The way the small town of FOUKE celebrates the legacy of the film and interest in the legend is great as well with the Monster Mart. Pennsylvania is a state with a long history of Sasquatch sightings and history. With lots of woodlands and rolling hills, it's a perfect habitat for a variety of wildlife. There's an area of central Pennsylvania around Dubois that I visited twice in recent years for research with colleagues from New England. We call the area the Pennsylvania Triangle case, due to the anomalous activity reported in the region, Bigfoot being one of them. While in the area in 2018, I interviewed 3 generations of the same family inhabiting a wooded area where they were having visuals and audio experiences over the years. I've spoken to others in this area that have also had experiences, and it seems overall the area has quite a lot of activity. I would definitely like to return to this area again. Northern Maine is a truly impressive wilderness. Maine itself is the most forested state in the United States at 89.46% forested, with the northern half of the state containing some of the least populated areas east of the Rocky Mountains. Unlike similar areas out west or elsewhere owned by federal or state authorities, most of this land is privately owned by logging companies. While some of it is available for recreational use, much of it is off limits to the public. It's home to thousands of moose, bear, and other woodland creatures. There are wildman and Sasquatch stories dating back in Maine to the early logging days and certainly into the modern period. You can drive for days on terrible logging roads in Maine and see more animals than people, so it's certainly a great habitat for things to stay hidden. I haven't explored northern Maine as much as I'd like, but the times I've been up there have been truly magnificent and it keeps me going back. So here's our campsite here in the great North Woods in Maine. Last night about 6 a.m. we had 2 moose come barreling through. Our tent was probably right over there. Came running down through here, and it's actually really cool. You can see the footprints, obviously tracks, and I stuck my head out of the tent. It was a mother moose and her baby. They came right over here to this spot. Beautiful little area, wetland area. This is the kind of spot you'd expect to see a moose, so you can see exactly where they went. Man, they ran right next to our tent. I mean, I had audio recording and everything, so as soon as I stuck my head out and they saw me, they barreled off that way and definitely let it be known that they were there. When most people think of Arizona, they think of deserts and the Old West, and while that certainly does apply, Arizona has some amazing vast mountain ranges and pine forests. One of these is the area around the Mogollon Rim, a few hours north of Phoenix. The rim itself is the southern edge of the Colorado Plateau and is filled with woods and wildlife, especially on the plateau portion itself. I first visited there in 2020 while filming with Chasing Legends. We were in search of the Bigfoot-like Mogollon monster reported in this region since before World War II and into recent times. We experienced quite a bit of wildlife in the area and had an interesting wood knock experience at night while out in the woods. This area is very promising and definitely one I'd like to return to at some point. New Hampshire comes top of my list mostly because it's what I'm most familiar with. It's my home state, and while relatively small in size, it's absolutely packed with wildlife and nature, from sprawling forests to some of the tallest peaks and most rugged terrain east of the Rockies. New Hampshire is the second most forested state in the U.S. at roughly 84.32% forested. I've spent years camping throughout the state, hiked all 48 of the mountains over 4,000 feet, and explored all corners of the state. Over those years, I've heard many stories of Sasquatch from all over. Whether it be the Hollis flea monster of southern New Hampshire or the wood devil stories of the Great North Woods region, there are so many unique and intriguing encounters I've come across or been told about. I've also been out in the field with local researchers and had some interesting experiences in an area of southern New Hampshire I've come to frequent weekly. Well, that's it for my list. Let me know what you guys think. Leave me a comment down below what you thought about my list, or where you would include into your list, or where I should consider checking out. Remember to subscribe, like, and share if you enjoy this kind of content.